Hey YouTube, if you don't know, this is the Smoking DM, and I've been running the Serpent Skulls Adventure Path, and we recently finished. It took us about a year and a half, and now I get the opportunity to look forward to be a player. And I figured, you know, I was doing the crafting, and in my opinion, is a form of art. And I believe the same thing is true of writing. So I would just like to share my newest character's background with you. And I'll print it up and nice and neat. And I'll read it to you real quickly, and I hope you enjoy it. Alright, the background of Yoshimitsu Yojimbo. Rich green peering eyes look out from behind a kabuki-styled mask. Behind is the snake-like vision of a humanoid figure with dark black hair and the fashion of a Kameish haircut. Yojimbo is meticulous about his cleanliness and keeps his vibrant-colored silk clothing neat and tidy. Often dressed in bright, primal colors, adorned with the finest jewelry and fashion his wealth can afford him, Yojimbo never overdresses, as not to restrain his mobility. He often sleeps in the comfort of the nude, unless in an obvious dangerous area, neatly storing the majority of his gear in a silken satchel, though his sword and mask are always close by his side. Along with cleaning up in the morning on a daily basis, Yojimbo performs a ritual of anointing his shogun-styled helmet with sweet-smelling, fragrant oils and incense. He does this in the chance if he should fall in combat to a worthy adversary via decapitation. It will consume as many faculties of his better in combat as possible, showing that his death is something to be remembered and honored, and seed his death as deeply into the memory of his killer, for they have bested and killed a true honor-bound warrior. Another habit of Yojimbo is he is often caught licking his katana, named Two Heads, One Swing. Many people give this serious individual space, and it would seem foolish to confront him about any of his idiosyncrasies. Yojimbo takes pride in his silvered tongue, for it has got him out of more than a few jams, seeing that conflict is mostly needless, and even worse off, even breeds even yet more conflict and chaos. The reason Yojimbo adorns his mask is to hide his shame. His face has a wicked vertical scar running up his left cheek, over his eye, and above it on his forehead. He views wounds and scars as a physical visual of his imperfection in combat. The scar on his face was given to him in his teenage youth during a sparring session from his very own hardened, chest-poking ex-master and former fencing teacher, Miyamoto. Miyamoto held the appearance of a well-paid but unkempt, dark-haired human with long, flowing, and wild-looking beard. It was during these years of Yojimbo's life he gained the nickname of the Yotes, or simply Yotes. It was gained through his teachings of his former mentor, Miyamoto. Yotes was such a great learner and student that he was rigid in his fencing techniques and highly predictable in his swordplay because of it. Even with this known to most opponents, none could still be his better in combat training, thus the reliable summoning moniker. The lingering memory of how his mentor became his ex-mentor still weighs heavily in the back of Yojimbo's mind, physically looking every so often over his shoulder and suspecting the retribution that is surely coming and only a matter of time. For you see, Yotes grew tired of the abusive training and constant chest-poking from Miyamoto and finally lost his normally cool demeanor. "If you poke me in the chest one more time, my lord, you will never use that finger again," Yojimbo said with a cool and calculating voice. Miyamoto scoffed, retracting his index finger as to poke him yet again, as to put his student back in his place. In a flash, as Miyamoto's finger jabbed again at Yote's chest, Yojimbo drew his sword and swang in an unrash fury of anger, severing Miyamoto's finger from his hand. "Ah, you animal! My hand is deformed! You will pay for this insubordination with your life, foolish ingrate!" Miyamoto belted out in hatred, before his lost edge had yet to even hit the ground. Scared for his life after taking the finger of one of the best swordsmen in all the lands, Yojimbo ran for his life and never looked back. Worried that the evil house of Ki he once served would use him as example that no one is out of their reach. Landing himself in exile, the Yotes found himself without a master. His training in life has changed. He no longer was on his way to becoming a samurai lord. He then became a sneak, a shadow, a whisper, a ninja. Before his days at the fencing school, Yojimbo was born and raised in a rural farming village by his father Yoshimitsu Yojimbo and loving mother Do. From what Yotes can recall of his childhood, he came from a happy and loving home. Being an only child, he was cared for greatly, as if he was their little prince. Though their families came from modest means and his father could be very strict with him at times, his parents lived with humble honor and instilled these values in Yojimbo at a very young age. As a child, Yojimbo had a pet nightingale named Tigger that he cared about so very much. When departing to the fencing academy, Tigger came along for the ride in his bamboo cage, only to have Tigger taken away by Miyamoto himself with the explanation of, "You are here to become a man. It is now time to put away childish things." Tigger was never seen again. Being rushed into adulthood by his father to become someone, and feeling shorted out of his childhood, Yode's jovial personality speaks volumes about him, trying to regain his lost childlike heart. When awakened from his nightmares of his ex-mentor always behind him, always lurking just beyond sight, biding his time and waiting for their inevitable conflict, Yojimbo would violently wake in a cold sweat just before his ex-mentor's well-laid ambush, and then he would find an open window for himself to daydream out of to help calm his nerves. The personality of Yojimbo is just as varied as his past. Taking in all as much of the gift of life he can, Yojimbo's favorite personal saying is, "One step at a time. If you rush through life and die tomorrow, you may have missed your entire existence." Yote's honor is his way. Even after falling the most violent evil, he honors them in death and pays his combatants with the utmost respect. Honor and the fear of shame guides most of Yojimbo's decisions. In love with the simpler things of life that he views as perfect, such as the panoramic view of a lush area of nature, the perfect flower, and the people that understand the elegance of the finer points of life, he admires the upholding of honor, self-sacrifice, and patience, and dislikes cowards, bureaucratic tyranny, and those who are always in such a hurry. But like most people, Yotes does have his shortcomings in his personality. He seems to linger a bit too long at times. He often feels that he is the guest of honor, and it would be rude of him to cut anything too premature. Being taught in the city his fencing skills, he cares little about crowds of people, so long as they care little about him in return. It's all about personal space. Yotes is heavily invested in his physical traits, but everybody has a hobby. His hobby is studying insects and trying to see if he can learn anything about nature to add to his own personal fighting style. Being also a lover of bright colors, quite obvious by his flashy adornments, he collects and pins butterflies to his ever-growing collection of specimens. Finally, Yotes prides himself on his cool, collected demeanor and is only once struck out in anger, vowing to himself to never erupt with anger again. Anger has no place in the mind when matters of life and limb are apparent. Alright. I'm geeked to play, man. Guys, dudes, ladies, all you. We're going to start playing today, actually. We played once. We had like a little prequel adventure. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to hand this in and give it up to my dungeon master or game master or whatever we want to call him nowadays. But I got one more thing to show you too. This is my mini I made. Oop. I had it in one of my videos briefly, like the hero and the conflict or whatever, but I made it about a week or two ago. And obviously, if you haven't figured it out yet, I'm trying to base a lot of my character off of Yoshimitsu from the Tekken series. So, you know. This actually is a Star Wars miniature. I don't remember the name of it. Let me see. Imperial Darkside Marauder. I don't know. Anyways, it kind of looked ninja-esque. So, you know, give him a paint job, brighten him up, make him flashy, put a flag on his back, make him look all kick-ass. But, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed my little share, and I hope everybody looks forward to playing their next game as much as I do. Take care.